Hey friends, I invited Ethan here with me today, and we're going to have a conversation about a wise mind. Something that we've been talking a lot about throughout this season actually comes from a theoretical orientation that therapists use called DBT. And DBT is really heavy on skills that we can equip our clients with. And so today I wanted to talk about something that is very popular with DBT. I'm going to hand it off to Ethan, and he's going to talk to us about wise mind and how that is helpful for us.
Yeah, thanks, Julia. One of the things about wise mind is we have the rational mind and then we have the emotional mind. When we think about that rational mind, it's more of the logical side of our minds. We're kind of shut off to emotion. We don't really experience emotions because we are shut off to them again. And then we have that emotional mind where we're on like this roller coaster of, we're high up here and then we're really low and we're kind of just on this roller coaster. But when we introduce the wise mind, what that does is it stabilizes the roller coaster, brings in the logical side, and now we can have this conversation that's more level. If we bring in the logical mind, what we find is that we can bring in some emotion to that, and now we have this conversation happening where both are communicating in a healthy way.
So talk to me. My husband always says you can't apply logic to emotions. So what is the difference between kind of marrying the two together versus trying to apply logic to emotions?
When we're applying logic to emotions, I think we have to first realize what our emotional state is. So a lot of that's mindfulness, right? Like we sit there, we maybe do a breathing technique or a meditation and think of where am I at right now? And how do I feel about this? If we're in a conflicting conversation, a lot of times people want to jump just to the facts, right? We don't care about the emotion. We don't care about how you're feeling, how I'm feeling. We just jump to the facts. And so when we introduce that emotional piece, it opens up a whole new window of opportunity for us to really engage in conversation in a healthy way.
Okay. So what you're saying is, rather than ignoring our emotions and just sort of applying logic to emotions, we're combining them together, acknowledging the logical pieces, acknowledging the emotional pieces, and then finding kind of that middle ground.
Yeah, finding the balance. A lot of times when couples are in conflict, I do a lot of couples work, and so one of the things I tell my couples is don't have any late conversations after 7 p.m. And the reason being is our brain's taking in so much information throughout the day. Think about when you're at work, you have kids, your brain is just being stimulated all day, and so where our logic is going to be very low and our emotions are going to be very high. And so when we engage in a conversation that might be conflicting, we're going to have some conflict, right? We're going to have this throwdown. Whereas if we schedule a conversation around, in the afternoon or early morning, we're more able to engage that logic, but also engage the emotional side. And then we have this smooth conversation. Doesn't mean there will be no conflict, but we have a better chance of it turning more into a healthy conversation.
I always feel like we have much more clear thinking in the morning when we haven't kind of been fuzzied up with the day and everything like that. So what is a way that you, me, our listeners, our viewers can practice or try to engage more of the wise mind?
So I think, again, it starts with just awareness. Mindfulness meditations, sitting in the moment and really feeling about how do I feel about this right now? What do I think about this right now? So we're engaging the emotion, how do I feel? How do I think, the logic? And really sitting with that and thinking. I mean, a lot of it is just being quiet and thinking about stuff and not reacting in the moment, but really taking the time to process that. I think that's the most practical way of dealing with it.
So you think that we can do that within ourselves before we engage that with relational conversations and dynamics,
Yeah, I think so. As long as we have those boundaries and we've set up the time to really give ourselves the time to do that. Now, in the moment, that might be a little hard, right? If we're an emotional person, we might get really angry really fast or defensive, or we might get super excited in a moment. And so in the moment, I think just to bring us back down to this wise mind, we have to engage, again, the logic and the emotions when we're not in the high state of either one.
Yeah.
And sometimes that could be accountability, right, with your partner, and them being like, oh, I think this isn't a good time to have this conversation. That's hard to do, again, but it comes back to just self-control and being able to establish a firm foundation.
Yep.
And as we practice, we get better at it.
And I was just thinking, if we can engage that in ourselves individually before we start in relationships, I would guess that there is a better ability to engage with the wise mind when we're in a conflict with our partner, know, something like that. I think when we practice that individually and we kind of exercise that muscle,
definitely,
we know how to do it in the really heated moments.
Practice makes perfect, as they say.
It's true. All right, friends. So I really want you guys to see if you can engage both sides of your mind, like Ethan's saying. See if you can think through, what am I feeling, how am I feeling, and then what am I thinking about the situation, whatever it might be. See if you can bring in both sides of your mind together. And then if you have a partner in your life, maybe you can practice not having those hard conversations late at night and talk about having them in the morning. And then you can also, again, practice this wise mind mentality of bringing the logic in with the emotion. So friends, get yourselves to Friday, enjoy your weekend, and we'll see you next week.